This little cat is only a tiny fraction of the size of his best friends. But that has never stopped Moosey. His first best friend was Gibson, a giant dog who towered over him. And as if that wasn't enough, Moosey eventually found himself an even bigger friend, Aussie, a horse. People can hardly believe how comfortable such a tiny cat can be around animals so much larger than him. But Moosey's family says he has always been a little different. From the very beginning, there was something special about him. Because Moosey almost never got the chance to become friends with anyone at all. It all started on what seemed like a completely ordinary day. Doreen and her boyfriend were in the barn when they spotted a tiny kitten lying completely still. He was so small, so quiet. For a moment, they weren't even sure if there was anything they could do to help him. Then they saw a tiny little movement, just the slightest twitch. To most people, it might not have meant much, but to Doreen, it was enough. It meant the little kitten was still fighting. So they rushed him to the vet.
We hadden al een hond, maar ik had dus echt nooit gedacht dat dit nu zou zijn hoe ze samen zijn.
That was when they learned that Moosey was only a few hours old. His tiny body had already been through so much before his life had barely even begun. Even the vet was surprised he was still alive. No one knew for sure if he was going to make it, but Doreen and her boyfriend made one decision. As long as Moosey kept fighting, they weren't going to give up on him. And somehow, Moosey refused to give up too. Day by day, the tiny kitten started getting stronger. His little body grew. His eyes began taking in the world around him with curiosity. And before long, the kitten who had once laid completely still in that barn had turned into a little ball of endless energy. Moosey wanted to be involved in everything. He played non-stop, ran all over the place, and was always looking for something new to explore. Sometimes that curiosity got him into trouble, but it was also what led him to some of the most unexpected friendships. Moosey's first best friend was Gibson, a giant dog. Moosey didn't seem to care how much bigger Gibson was than him. From the very beginning, it was almost like he had made up his mind. This was going to be his best friend. So Moosey started following Gibson everywhere. They went on walks together, curled up beside each other, and spent so much of their time together. To Moosey, Gibson wasn't some giant dog. He was simply a friend, just a really, really big one, who was always there. But apparently one best friend wasn't enough for Moosey. As he got older, he started following everyone around the house, especially whenever Doreen went outside to check on the horses. And that's how Moosey met Aussie.
Gisteren kwam ik thuis en toen had de boordenmerries die tegenover Ruby staan weggehaald.
Aussie was even bigger than Gibson. Standing next to a horse, Moosey looked like nothing more than a tiny little dot beside a giant, but Moosey didn't seem scared at all. He simply walked up, looked around, and did what he always did best. He made a new friend. Now, Moosey often runs over to the fence just to say hello to Aussie. To him, size has never really mattered. Moosey doesn't look at Gibson or Aussie and think they're too big to be his friends. He just sees two animals he wants to be around. And one of the sweetest things is that after visiting Aussie, Moosey still comes back to check on Gibson, almost as if he wants to make sure his old friend doesn't feel left out. A tiny cat, a giant dog, and a horse big enough to seem like an entire world to Moosey. Somehow, all three have become part of each other's lives. Moosey's family believes he has always had his own special way of connecting with others. He doesn't sit around waiting for someone to become his friend. Moosey makes the first move. Even if the other animal is 10 times his size, he's still willing to walk right up and say hello. Maybe that's why Moosey has taught his family to see things a little differently. The kitten who was once so fragile that no one knew if he would survive now seems to live life more fully than anyone. He plays, explores, gets himself into trouble, and somehow manages to turn giant animals into his best friends. Sometimes, watching Moosey run back and forth between Gibson and Aussie, it's hard to believe that it all started with a tiny kitten lying motionless in a barn. If it hadn't been for that one little twitch, no one might have ever known Moosey was there. There would have been no walks with Gibson, no trips to the fence to greet Aussie. But Moosey survived. And maybe the real miracle isn't just that he made it through those first few hours of life. Maybe it's what he did with the life he was given afterward. Moosey never let the size of the world or the size of the animals in it make him afraid. He just walks up, makes friends, and loves in his own fearless way. From a tiny kitten who once had to fight just to survive, Moosey grew into a little cat with a heart big enough to make friends with the whole world.